Hey everyone, welcome back to Christians and Culture. We are starting our series here on maintaining Christian virtue in the virtual world. And today we're going to start with, well, you'll see what we'll start with. I think you'll catch a theme here as we go ahead and go through our scriptures for today. The first scripture I want to read is Ephesians 4, 1 through 3. I, therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And then how about Colossians 3, starting in verse 12? Put on then as God's chosen one, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And lastly here in James, do not grumble against one another, brothers, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. As an example of suffering and patience, brothers, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Behold, we consider those blessed who remain steadfast. You have heard of the steadfastness of Job, and you have seen the purpose of the Lord, how the Lord is compassionate and merciful. You see a theme running through those scriptures. I think the theme there would be patience. Patience is a Christian virtue. It's one that we'll often have talked about in kids' classes, but for some reason tends to get pushed to the side as we grow older. For whatever reason, we just don't talk about patience as much as an important part of the Christian life. Yet I think when it comes to the online world, patience is perhaps the most important virtue a Christian can practice. Well, maybe the most important virtue a Christian can ever practice anywhere is love. But I think love expresses itself very strongly in patience when it comes to the online sphere. Oftentimes, for whatever reason, when we have a screen between us and wherever we're interacting, whether it be a website or social media or a video, we tend to lose our filter for some reason. This is a phenomenon that's been studied for the last decade by social scientists trying to understand why it is that once we get online, we just seem to turn into different people. And one of the things I think is most frustrating as a Christian is when you look out and you see other Christians who are instantly reacting to something. Something occurs, we instantly react. This is something our culture tries to engage us in. They want us to instantly react. They want us to see the video they just posted and either get mad or be happy or whatever. React to it now. React strongly to it, preferably. React. When you go and post something on Facebook, what are the little icons called? They're called reactions. You know, whether it's a like or love or the little heart guy who hugs the heart, which I think is supposed to be sympathy or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, they're called reactions. They want you to react. But as Christians, we need to have a patient approach. Reaction's not always wrong. It's not always wrong to react in the moment. If a lion is chasing you, you should react. But the majority of situations in life don't call for an instant reaction, and more often than not, when we react instantly, we make a mistake. We see this often play out in the news media. How often over the last few years have we seen news stories come out, and they make a big deal about it? Some huge thing happened. It's the end of this particular administration, or it's the end of this particular law, and then when you find out, oh no, actually they got the story wrong because they didn't take time to go through all the facts. They wanted to be first to the story, but they didn't have everything correct. But what happens then is if we as Christians react to that initial news, especially if we react in a strong manner, well, now we look kind of foolish. We look kind of foolish because we reacted to something that ended up not being true. This takes form in many aspects of the online world. Twitter is especially bad for this. Twitter encourages you to react now. You saw what somebody tweeted? Tweet right back at them. Let them know exactly what you think. And unfortunately, impatience tends to breed anger. It tends to breed frustration. It tends to breed an instant emotional reaction to whatever we saw. As Christians, we're called to a higher standard of that. We're called to be patient, to exercise the virtue of patience. Why? Because the patient word is powerful. Taking a moment to gather whatever has happened, whether it be some big news story or some declaration by a public figure or just some guy you happen to know on the internet who said something you either agree or disagree with, taking time to think about it, letting it process, taking a moment to figure out whether or not the way you want to react is the proper way, is an important part of our virtue as Christians in the online world. The world is full of instant reactions right now. Do you really think those instant reactions are helping? When you go on Twitter, do you find it to be a nice place? When you look at the Facebook feed of prominent people, does it seem pleasant? Go ahead and go through the Instagram comments of someone who just posts a picture. What do you find? Just vile stuff. Why? Because people react instantly. Not sure if some people are going out of their way just to be mean, but there are other people who see something and they have an instant reaction to it. What we call the instinctual reaction. We just go with the first thing that comes to our head. We as Christians are called to be patient. Give it a moment. Sometimes you'll find out that first reaction you had was in fact correct. Maybe you should be mad about what's there. Maybe you should react with some kind of strong language in a godly sense, certainly not in a worldly sense, but maybe it does require a rebuke. But oftentimes what we'll find out is that thing I was going to say at the very beginning, that wouldn't have ended up well. I missed some minor point that they had, or I misunderstood the way that they said this or that. That's one of the big things with text. Text doesn't carry all the same emotional and little social cues that we do when we're talking. And so oftentimes we can misunderstand something in text that, had we been talking to the person, we would have known exactly what they meant, because the way they inflected their voice or just the way they were looking as they spoke. We have to be very careful about our instant reaction when we're on the online world. Patience is powerful. Proverbs 25 makes this point. 25:15. With patience, a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft tongue will break a bone. Here we don't just see that patience is powerful, but the words we use are powerful too. And often when we're impatient, we take those words and we just kind of spew them out. Just whatever's there, that's the first thing coming out of me. And often those words are not the soft tongue, they're hard, they're lashing. But patience can persuade a ruler. Patience can persuade someone who's wrong, reacting in a patient manner. Taking time to think and come up with a well-mannered response can do far more than an instant angry reaction face to a post. And it may seem silly to act that way, put such emphasis on it online. Why do we care so much? But here's the thing. The light of the gospel doesn't end at your computer screen. How you act in the online world, people still take notice. When you say you're a Christian, but then you act with impatience, you say things off the cuff, you react to things immediately and then find out you were wrong later, people see that. Patience is a virtue we need to engage in the online world. Certainly it's important in our daily life, but for some reason in the online world, that barrier seems to go away, and we become very impatient people. I encourage you, practice patience the next time you're online. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. Take a moment when you see that post or video or little text put up or a Twitter feed. Before you react right away, think about what you're going to say. Ask yourself, is this important? Is this something I need to react to? Is this something which, if someone else looks and sees what I've done, that they'll think it points to God, or will it just make the faith look bad? Will it just make people think, oh, there's another one of those Christians acting hypocritical? Exercise patience in the online world. That's it for today. I hope this is an encouragement to you and makes you think the next time you're on the internet about how you're going to react to any particular section of it. It's an important part of our daily life now, and it's just getting more and more important as our children grow up. We have to teach them patience in this online world. But until the next video, guys, I will see you later. I look forward to speaking to you then. Bye, everybody.